Hello, I have decided to come here and rank from best to not so great because I usually don't finish a book if I don't like it, unless it's one of those things where I am 10 pages away from the end and I just have to finish it because I've been working so hard. And we're going to start with number 1. I've read only 13 books this year. I am not one of those crazy people that reads like 13 books a week or 13 books a month. I have never been. I read at my own pace and I read what I like, and I don't waste time reading things that I don't like because I'm not getting paid to do this. And even if I was getting paid to do this, it wouldn't be enough. So, first and foremost is Dangerous Liaisons. I saw the preview for the TV show and I thought, I have to watch that. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna read the book before. I got it expecting I would take a month or 2 to read it, that the entire series would have been recorded before that I had it finished. And I was kind of bored at first because I was like, is this just gonna be all letters? And then I couldn't stop. I read this in 2 weeks, maybe less. I shouldn't admit to this on YouTube, but I read it at work. Whenever there was like downtime at work, I got it on Google Books for free. I'd just be swiping. What are Valmont and Murtoy up to today? I don't know. But because of the TV show now, I know how to pronounce that last name. And it's a shame that we're probably not going to get a second season. But in a way, I think with the way they ended it, it's tragic. And if you read the book, well, then you know what I'm about to say. But if you haven't, spoilers. Valmont dies because another person that is interested in Murtoy stabs him in the chest in a duel or something like that. And they're really building up to it. What with Valmont fencing and everything. And they had a lot of the same beats, but the Dangerous Liaisons TV show was much like a prequel, if you will. So that's number 1. Number 1 best book that I enjoyed so much. Number 2 was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. I know this has been talked about like a whole bunch by all of the YouTubers everywhere, but I had to get it because I loved iCarly, and I loved Sam, and I loved Jennette McCurdy. And I listened to it in 2 days. I got the audiobook because I wanted to hear the author tell it in her own words, and oh my gosh, this book fucking gutted me. This one hurt. It was hardcore. I cannot believe that poor girl went through all of that. And normally I'm not into biographies. There's one that I started all the way back in like 2016, and I haven't finished it. And I haven't finished it because it is, God, it's hard reading about people's struggles and all the shit they went through. It's heartbreaking. I can't do it a lot of the times. So I have to have it in an easily digestible form of listening to it or watching it through a movie, because I don't think I could read Unbreakable, the book. I got it for my husband. Funny story, when the movie came out. He said he wants to read the book because he wants to know the story. Well, I got him the Spanish version, so I had to take that back and get him the English version. What are you gonna do? Oh, anyway, number 3 on my list is Soulmates by Sarah Faith Sanders. Met is such a weird thing when you've never met in person, but I met Sarah on TikTok. I do believe she is traditionally published, and this story is about 2 people, Audrey and Zachary. She says there's going to be a Soulmates 2. I don't know if I'm going to read it. I almost didn't want to finish the book because there was a point to where Audrey and Zachary were together because Audrey grew up in a really strictly religious household. These people had, her mom and dad had her husband picked out for her. I can't remember his name, but we're just gonna call him Pastor Boy. And he was a pastor, soon to be this great guy, and he was actually kind of a douche. She met Zachary at college and she fell in love, and the time jumps in this weren't so stupidly jarring like they kind of are in some books. I will admit I'm not very good at time jumps, but it flowed. It was like almost no time passed at all. And I loved these two because these two, it wasn't like he was an absolute dick to her at first and then just one day he wasn't, and then let's start. You guys don't know how to do enemies to lovers properly. These guys were just cute, and it was the ache of they couldn't get together. Anyway, they met at college at some coffee shop. I don't remember what nickname he had for her, but he was really into carpentry, and she could sing. She could sing really, really well. She had so many singing things that she never uploaded to YouTube because it wasn't of God. So she married the pastor, broke Zachary's heart. Zachary told her you could leave. I think they kissed before. And then she married the pastor, and he was emotionally and physically abusive. And then one day she got pregnant, and then she said, you know what? Fuck this. I cannot bring a child into this loveless marriage. So she went out, she went to the clinic, and then she said, so I did the impossible thing. Can I leave? Fuck yes, I can. And so she went out, she left. She kind of struggled a little bit. She had her little non-binary friend. I think their name was Ty, and they lived together in New York. She ran into Zachary again. He had a nice woodworking business. He was redoing Ty's bakery, which I think unfortunately Ty had to close. There was a lot of like almost their dreams that were pulled back and not like actualized. And I kind of loved and hated that because I hate when it just works out too easy. So Zachary and Audrey got together. They had this kind of whirlwind romance. They were finally together. And then Audrey tries out for a band called Echo Rock. And then, you know, changes happen. Echo Rock dispersed and Audrey went, and she was her own person, and she went on tour. And Zachary and Audrey were like 45 when they finally got together. And I liked it. I wanted them to leave her. Like, I read it when I was in Comic-Con meeting Vincent D'Onofrio. I read it when I was in line for either the bathroom or in line to meet him. And she sent me an ARC copy because we're TikTok friends. And she reviewed this book of mine. And yeah, I really liked it. So it's third on my list. Number 4 is Song of the North Woods. This was an Audible exclusive. It was kind of like listening to an old-timey radio show. It was about this girl named Song who moves with her friend Lucy. I do believe, Song had a job on a podcast and then she lost that job. And Song and Lucy do their own podcast, sort of a cold case, and they have maybe like 4 subscribers. They're just doing it for fun, kind of like I'm doing this because I think this will get maybe 10 views from my subscribers or something, but I don't know. Anyway, Song gets a tip of this. I think it was a boy. It's been a long time since I listened, and I don't have it on my device. So a boy that Lucy went to high school with, because Song does not live where Lucy lives. And Lucy was really, really trying hard not to let Song know what it is. And I'm not going to give away too much because it's really easy. It's kind of a by the numbers kind of book or story or whatever, but if it wasn't performed in such a way that it was like really interesting, I don't think it would be on my list at all. Because if I had to read it, I would have gotten bored because I would have called it, and you might call it, but it's entertaining and it has value for what it is. And all of the people, like, not to be rude to some people, but when some women affect a man voice, they sound bad. Yeah, feels like this, babe. You know, kind of like that. And they kind of just lightly vary that man voice. I'm going to talk about that in a book that's coming up. Because an audiobook is only as good as its narrator. And all the women sounded like women, all the men sounded like men, and I could see the faces. Like when Song described them, I was like, yes, I see that. So this one's worth a listen, even though the script is kind of predictable. For the fact that, like, when Song and River are on the water, there's actual paddling. Song and River. Song and Lucy. I'm sorry. But it's called The Song of the Northwoods. It's good. It's quirky. I loved it. Next are the Sandman comics. That is number 5. I am just going to rank them all together. Of course, preparing for the TV show. I have not gotten Netflix just yet. I don't know, wanting to pay off my phone, but I think I have 10 payments left, so I better just, you know, splurge and get Netflix. I got Netflix because, okay, so I was interested in it because I was searching for some actor while we were watching the Dwayne Johnson movie, The Scorpion King, and then there was this one actor in it. He's not very popular. His last name is Brand. Sandman comics are appropriately violent, visually stunning. I love that the Sandman is not some brooding hot guy. I love that he's full of, like, darkness, and of course I would be too if somebody trapped me in a fucking bubble for like 85 years. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have read 1, 2, and 4 because they're kind of very popular right now. So how am I going to get number 3? I am in line for number 3. And the first Sandman comic is the only physical book I have read all year. All the rest were either digital or audio. Now that one is done, let's go to number 6. The 6th best book I have read this year was The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. And I don't remember what this author's real name is. It's like Charlotte something. Because when you look her up, you find that her name's like Charlotte something. It is not a series. It's about a girl whose nickname is Carrot that moves back home after her divorce. She doesn't want to live with her mother because her mother is just makes her feel some type of way. So she goes to live with her uncle in his weird curiosities museum. And there's this moose called Prince. And she really got all sentimental and emotional over him. Then one day, Uncle gets sick. He falls, he hurts himself. Carrot is in charge of the Curiosities Museum. So while she's in charge, she throws out a bunch of stuff. And the customers bust a hole in one of the walls. So she and who I'm going to call Florida Man, because I don't remember his name. They go on these adventures because this hole in the wall leads to a secret tunnel that leads to a secret world. And that is why it is 6th on my list, because hole in the wall that leads to a secret tunnel that leads to a secret world is my favorite trope. I did it in my book that I just showed you that I have. Tessa finds a hole in the wall and a whole other room off her house, a whole other house off of her house. And then when she finds Claudius's picture, she keeps it, and then she finds a whole other world. he takes her to a whole new world. It's just not as warm and wonderful as Aladdin and Jasmine. I'm sorry. But there was very visual things like the willows in this book. The willows can talk. The willows are listening to you. There was a guy who was a Forest Service guy or something, and he had this deep southern drawl. And the person wasn't bad as an audio narrator, but Florida Man kind of sounded, her male characters kind of sounded a little similar. Like Florida Man sounded like her uncle, and the southern drawl guy that kind of just turned into mud. Yeah, you guys got to listen to this. It's weird. He sounded the same as Florida Man. And sometimes when she was just talking Carrot's voice, like Carrot would have dialogue instead of just her own internal thoughts because it was first person narrative. Carrot would kind of sound like Florida Man. So that's my critiques of that. There was just some interesting stuff. So if you listen to it only for the world building, which is good, I just think this book felt like it was a lead up or a build up to a series, but it's a standalone. I looked it up. I went to see if there was a series, and it's a standalone. What are you gonna do? And then for number 7, I finally, not that you know, not that you're in my life, but I finally finished the Asylum series written by Madeleine Roux, I think is her last name. This stars Daniel, Jordan, and Abby, and I like Daniel, but I'm not so great on Jordan and Abby. Sometimes Jordan is kind of a token gay stereotype, and Abby isn't necessarily the manic pixie dream girl. She's what I'm going to call the Mother Teresa character, because sometimes when Jordan's feeling like people around him are a little homophobic, Abby just puts her kind, loving hand on the aggressive southern person's shoulder, and her goodness in her heart gives them the will to not be a douche or something. I really don't know. I kind of got tired of Daniel because Daniel never told Abby how he felt. He just kind of let it go. And there was some times where it was like, the reason why I didn't finish the rest of the series, well, up until recently, because I started reading it in like 2016. But I know either way, audiobook or physical book has pictures in it that you can look at that are pretty neat. I think they have those beveled pages, which I'm not a fan of. That feels weird. It feels kind of cheap, and I don't like it. It's kind of the same story again and again. Daniel, Abby, and Jordan get into trouble. They get investigating. They get learning stuff. What I liked about Sanctum was Sanctum showed some of the past more than the other two. I don't remember the third one's name. It was Asylum, Sanctum, and Catacomb. That's right. And the names were, like they fit. But it was kind of just like if you've read one, you've read them all. Daniel, Jordan, and Abby go to a place. Weird shit happens. They start investigating. People try and stop them. They get really close. Something very important to them gets taken away. In order for them to get it back, they've got to put themselves in danger. At the very last minute, this ex machina type thing swoops in and saves them. But there was like, my critiques would be that Daniel really, really loved Abby. And yeah, Abby was sweet, but Abby, like, straight did not feel the same. Abby just was not about that life. And there was this kind of cringe moment where he was just watching her and he was like, only she would eat Cocoa Puffs at noon. Like, that's not... Oh my god. The level of being a manic pixie dream girl is on the floor. Now for number 7 is Bleed More, Body More. I did a review of this on my channel. It's written by Ian Kirkpatrick. She has her own YouTube channel. It's called Ian Kirk Patty Cake. I don't think I'm going to read her Knives Out type book, Dead End Drive. It just doesn't seem like what I want. And like I said, an audiobook is only as good as its narrator. And that narrator was good. Like Song of the Northwoods, this guy gave a performance. He didn't just read a book. My favorite actor, well, not aside from Vincent D'Onofrio, well, slowly dwindling away, because if he does another fucking movie with Melissa McCarthy, I'm just gonna have to jump in front of a bus. But Bobby Cannavale, who is a scenery chewer in every sense of the word, he didn't deliver so much of a good performance in the audiobooks I listened to that he read last year. Like, I really liked one that I can't remember what it was called. I want to say Imitation of Life, but I don't think that's it. Second Hand Life, something like that. It's about like a kid that just stands up for himself and then he gets shot, and I don't remember. Who cares? Anyway, I really loved the way that this audiobook narrator of Bleed More, Body More narrated. He gave a performance. He was really good. His female voice wasn't so cringe and bad, because the main character is a girl and it's told from first person present tense, and Ian says she does that to feel more immersive. I really liked it, and I do believe that first person present tense works with her. There is some repetitive stuff, which is why it's low on my list. Like Joey is the character's name, sucks at her lip ring a lot. She kind of, like, we go over to her house and it's kind of a disgusting place a lot, and then, like, it kind of feels like it meanders a little bit. And I love Ian's content. Ian occasionally reads some of my stuff because she does this thing called Lemoy, and I submit stuff to her. She'll give you a prompt. The last one I submitted wasn't that great. It was about a boat, but you know, if you want to look her up, look for Lemoy in December. I honestly recommend listening to all of them. Mine is good, but there's this guy called Egao Chan, and there's this other guy called Mike Van Hoos, and they both write really well. They're better writers than me. Like, I'm gonna just say it. So we're gonna move along. I think that was number 7. Number 8 is The Matchmaker's Charm. My friend Jody Jensen, I did a book with this, and my big problem with it is that now that I've thought about it a lot, I honestly think that it should have been switched around. That it should have been The Matchmaker's Charm first, and then Sophie's Key second. Because I always felt that Selena should have had more of a part in Sophie's Key. I have book reviews of both of these books on my channel. You can go watch so that you have some more context. It was a love story. Like I said, the sex was weird. I don't know if I put this in my previous video where I'm talking about this, but it's kind of like her boyfriend Luca, because what Selena has to do is like make 5 matches so that she can get married to her boyfriend. I mean, they're having like sex and stuff, but she has to send these women, I wonder if there's going to be any men, back in time to meet their true love, and then get them to like turn the key in the door and decide to, you know, get there. And I think The Matchmaker's Charm should have been first. So if you want to read these 2 books, I still recommend it. I would recommend reading The Matchmaker's Charm first, and then I would recommend reading Sophie's Key second, because this let's get back to the sex. There was a time where she was there with her boyfriend. She went to a hot springs, and he fingered her from behind in this public place in a hot springs. The sex in Sophie's Key is way better. So if you want to read it, read The Matchmaker's Charm first and then read Sophie's Key. And I think then it would feel better. And then The Matchmaker's Charm wouldn't feel so, vegan, because there's no fucking steaks. And as for my number 9 book, it's called The Coming of the Old Ones, and it's a collection of like 4 or 5 short stories. There was this weird, I'm like lately into tentacles and stuff because my Claudius and Tessa series, spoilers for it, but there's a lot of stuff in between. In the end, they're granted these sort of eldritch squid god type powers, and tentacles are literally burned into them to become part of their skin. And it's important that it's squid, because squid have teeth in their suckers. There you go. And their suckers, their tentacles are kept in them, and then when they want something, they go get it. And octopus are friendly creatures that don't have teeth in their suckers. Octopus are fine. And yes, I don't want to get too deep into my books because we're supposed to be talking about other people here. But it looked tentacle-ish, and the reason why it's down here is because all of these projects feel unfinished. They feel like they're the start of something. There's one in the middle where there's stone somethings in the sky, stone statues, old gods in the sky. And this guy just doesn't give a fuck. And they've been there a while. And I feel like all these short stories could be turned into novellas, and they feel incomplete. I was kind of depressed that it was that way. And I tapped back thinking I'd missed something, but no, it's a bunch of short stories. There's a guy where a room appears where there wasn't a room before. There's someone about stones appearing in the sky, and the other 2 were kind of not interesting. Those were the 2 that stood out. It's worth a listen. Like, if you want to use your Audible credit. This is gonna sound bad. I hope that how Kindle Unlimited, I still get money even if you read The Witch of Enoch in Kindle Unlimited. If you finished it, then good for you. In The Lord, the Devil, and Him, somebody read 9 pages and I got 9 cents. You have to finish the book in order for me to get enough money. Like, somebody read, like, so many people read this. People love this. Somebody read that, Kindle Unlimited, in like a fucking day. So I got the $4.99 I was charging for it. I can't remember if I dropped the price, because for a while that book was like $6 for paperback. I think somebody ordered them and then didn't wait for them to be printed. So I would recommend Coming of the Old Ones, but it's very low on the list. It's number 10. And then number 12. I know I said 13. I think I said 13. But I decided at the last minute to count the Catacomb and Sanctum, and even Asylum, as one book altogether, since I'm counting the Sandman comics altogether. The Magician's Land. The one thing that's about Lev Grossman that is different from Madeleine Roux is that the Magicians, the Magician King, I don't know what the second one is called, I can't remember, and then the Magician's Land all have different things in them, and there's stakes, and there's things that are going to happen. You're not even sure if Quentin's going to get out of it alive. He didn't get out of the series alive. I think the series is off the air. But unfortunately, Quentin Coldwater in the book is such a boring character. And Lev Grossman spends a lot of time talking about traveling. He will do pages at a time of somebody traveling. And then he will do not very much of anything else. I had to use some of the characters, because in the series there's a guy named Lovelady. He shows up for a bit and then he dies. And then there's a girl named Amanda, and in the series, in the TV series, everybody's frozen and it's all scary and there's this music playing, and then here comes Martin Chatwin and he's dancing out all that stuff, and then he ends up just ripping Dean Fogg's eyes out and he eats somebody. But I know that like everybody froze and everything, but I kind of liked that in the TV series they could move their eyes but not their anything else. And the books were just kind of boring. In this case the books were not better. I'm glad I read The Magician's Land so I could judge it without watching the TV thing. In this one, Quentin was a little less of a wet blanket. He was such a wet blanket in the first two. There was hardly, for a book called The Magicians, there sure wasn't very much fucking magic. And I don't remember what the second book was called, but it was much better because it was actually like they were in Fillory, and it's like he wanted to do Hogwarts and Narnia at the same time. And I think he was just a little too invested in Quentin Coldwater's existential crisis. And I do love this series. I do. I mean, I went as Quentin Coldwater for Halloween like 4 years ago. This year I'm going to go as my own creation. That's not the point. But I liked it. It didn't really go... This one found that nice happy medium to not go on and on and on in so many ways. And the unfortunate thing about a book written by Lev Grossman is everybody is telling the story third hand. In the TV series, which is a more visual medium, of course, Penny comes back in the book and just tells them their story. But in the TV series, we get to experience it with Penny. And I don't mind telling of the story and shifting perspectives and stuff, as long as it's done well and you can differentiate your characters, like Penny acts this way and then Quentin acts another way. They went to the library and Penny is so boring in the books. Penny out of nowhere in the first book just punches Quentin because he got a good grade. And I think Penny is white in the books because he keeps saying something about his pale face, his pale face, his pale face. And yeah, you can be like ethnic and be pale, but with the way Grossman said it over and over again, I kind of wonder if Penny in the books was supposed to be white. That's my theory. Like, I don't care. The actor that played Penny is good, and I don't care what color the characters are. I'm not that person that's gonna get mad. I am a little annoyed that Alice was so fucking hot. Like, oh yeah, let's pick big boob, tall, blue-eyed Olivia Dudley to play Alice, who's supposed to be a mousy little insecure girl. But those are my books rated from best to just kind of there. I had a pretty good year. I haven't read this many books in a long time, and Audible helped out. And it was like actually kind of a lot easier having it digital, because then I'm going to be on my phone anyway. I'm recording this on my phone. I have way more books than this. I just don't have copies. This is Chenille. That's the one about the sociopath who falls in love with her parole officer. This one is the first in a 3-part series. And it's about a girl who moves into this little coveted yellow house. Like I said, she finds this whole thing off of her house. She's dealing with her own trauma from her past. and all that shit. I am gonna get the things down right now. I'm gonna set this thing. But anyway, she becomes interested in this guy named Claudius Brand, who lived in her old house and worked her old job and then died in 1937. Some spoilers happen. I'll be right back. Well, actually, hold on. This is The Witch of Enoch. It is, I'm not really going to get a good thing on it from here. Yeah, that's better. It's about a witch who is the daughter of a goddess who traps Tessa's sister Harper, and she's got to get her out from the underground torture lair that she's in. And I'm going to get my other one from up there. The Redemption of Claudius Brand. And I feel kind of like Jodi's book inspired me, because while I was reading it, I was like, what? Hold on. If we sent Tessa back in time so she could live with Claudius instead of doing it this way. So in a way, this one could be read separate all by itself, and you can see the tentacles, the face is darkened. It's kind of, like I said, inspired by the Sandman. That's why I decided to read the Sandman, because if I had somebody in my face for what I wanted Claudius, somebody's face in my head for what I wanted Claudius to look like, it would be Tom Sturridge. So there's those books that you can read. I have others. I'm not going to get them down because I'm just kind of lazy. They're called Braxley. There's another one called You Know Where I Am. I'm begging people to read that one and tell me I haven't wasted my time with it. Would I recommend the books on the list? I'd recommend all but The Coming of the Old Ones. I would have rated it a lot lower, but unfortunately, Lev Grossman's writing, like I said, he hyper-focuses on unimportant things, and I'm not a fan of that. And I think I'm going to move Vincent's picture to up there, since it looks like it'll fit better, and put this picture here. Yes, that's good. But it's been nice talking with y'all, and I will see you later.